Do you want to be successful? You know, I've traveled the country and I've talked to a lot of entrepreneurs and a lot of business people to know what makes them successful. And so I've got the top 8 things I'm going to share with you today, and you're not going to believe what they are. So join us for Motivational Moments. Hey, this is Chuck with Motivational Moments, and I want to share with you the top 8 things that people have in common that are successful. The number one thing that they do is they are stubborn to survive. And what that means is, for me personally, we had a mobile home park. We had several mobile home parks, but this one in particular got hit by an ice storm back in 1999. I had 33 units in a mobile home park, and 13 of them were not livable anymore. And so for me, that was disaster. I couldn't pay my payments if they weren't rented. You know, the insurance company, they bailed out on us, wouldn't pay our claim. So what did I do? I called out to my friends and family, and we all got over there. When we covered the roofs with whatever we had to do, we patched them together so the people could stay living in them for the time being, so my rent would still come in, because 13 vacancies would have bankrupted me. But we made it through. No matter what the insurance company told me, what anybody said, we pushed through. We were stubborn to survive. That's the number one reason, or the number one thing that people have in common. The number 2 thing is successful people know how to prioritize. You know, you can look at your day and there's always things that have to happen that you have to get done, but the number one thing has to be done first. And I'll give you an example of that. In my mobile home park again, if I had a vacancy, you know, a vacancy could cost me, say, $500 a month if nobody was living there. Now, that doesn't mean I didn't have to mow my grass. That didn't mean I didn't have to do those things. But the number one priority for me was to get that back rented. So I put everything I had into getting, you know, the unit ready to rent again, because that was just like you took $500 out of my pocket. If I missed that month's rent, that cost me that much money. I could never make that up. I had to prioritize that. I still had to do the other things, but understand you have to prioritize and do the number one thing first. That's the number 2 reason. Number 3 is you're not above any job. You know, as sometimes business owners think that they can sit in an office and not do anything. That is such a falsehood, because to be successful, you're going to have to get out on the floor. You're going to have to do the work, the same thing the employees do. You know, when we built Ace Hardware 16 years ago, I had to get it stocked so I could get it open. And so I had a crew of people helping me during the day, so we'd work from like 7 to 5. Well, at 5 o'clock, the paid crew went home, and some of my friends showed up, and we'd work till 2 or 3 in the morning trying to get the store ready. We did this for a couple months to get it open, but we had to do it. We have to do, you know, whatever it takes, and you're not above doing that. I wasn't just waiting on the paid people to do it. I was there hustling just like everybody else, and they worked hard alongside of me because of that. The number 4 reason is setting short-term goals and long-term goals. My first entrepreneur business was CNC Foreign Car. We worked on BMWs, Porsches, and Mercedes. I started that at age 23. And my short-term goal in that business was, I had 2 mechanics, was to get enough work in the door to keep them busy. I wasn't as concerned if they were making money or not, but we had to be busy. We had to build some customers. And so that was my short-term goal. My long-term goal, however, was to make the business work efficiently. So I had parts in stock for every car that we worked on for most of the jobs we were going to do. So when they brought the car in, we had the parts. We didn't have to outsource the stuff. You know, once they had the car on the lift, they could do the job and get it out and not have to waste time. Plus, I was making more money on the parts because I'd bought them ahead of time and could shop around and get the best deal. So that was our long-term goal. So you see how they kind of work together. Number 5 is work smart is not enough. You know, society sometimes tells us that you have to work smarter, not harder. I would argue that you have to do both. You have to work smart, but hard at it. I'll give you an example of that. In our Ace Hardware store, when we first opened, I had to walk the floors every day or once a week to place the orders. I had to look for things that we had sold out of and manually order those items every week. We had 26,000 items in our store, different SKUs. And so that was a pretty time-consuming thing. Plus, by the time you got to the end of the, you know, looking, you're missing some things. So once we built, after about, 6 to 9 months, once we built a history, then the computer started generating those orders, and I could manipulate those orders, and they were more accurate. So now the computer's doing what was taking me, 3 or 4 hours a week. Now the computer's handling that. So I've got 3 or 4 extra hours a week. So what did I do with that? Well, I didn't just go sit on a recliner. I worked in other departments of the store that I could make more efficient, more profitable. So I was working smarter and harder. And so that's the number 5 reason. Number 6 is never stop learning. You know, with Ace Hardware, I'll give you an example. We were there 16 years, or we've been there 16 years. I've learned so much from my employees and so much from my customers that would tell me how to improve the store. You know, if we could do this, this would be better. And I'm like, yeah, we can do that. Well, if you have to take the mindset, you know everything and nobody else knows anything, you'll fail. I promise you will not be successful. But listen to other people, listen to their ideas and weigh them. I mean, they may not work, but you don't know if you don't try. You know, so that's the number 6 thing is to never stop learning. Number 7 is hard on me. It's patience. You know, you have to be patient, and no business is overnight success. You hear that, but that's not really true. For us, like at Ace Hardware, it took 7 years before we started making a profit. 7 years. I had other businesses that were keeping me afloat, you know, paying our bills. It wasn't the store. It took that long. And I'll give you another example. Chick-fil-A, you know, Truett Cathy started Chick-fil-A in 1967, but he worked like 20 years before that perfecting the art before he could open the first restaurant. And so now, over 50 years later, we look at Chick-fil-A and say, oh, look how successful they are. But it wasn't overnight. It's over 50, 60 years that this man's worked towards this goal. So you have to push and push and push and know that it's not going to all happen tomorrow, that it's a long-term journey, and that's okay. But just knowing that. And number 8 is probably the most important thing that I learned. You know, the Bible tells us that you shall love your neighbor as yourself. You know, and in business, that is so important to know. In life too, but in business, I have to treat my customers and I have to treat my employees better than I treat myself. Understand that I truly care for my employees. I truly care for my customers. In our tractor dealership, within 3 years of owning a Mahindra tractor dealership, we started from the ground up. We grew it to one of the top dealerships in the country. How did we do that? Because I love my customers and I love my employees, and I truly do. You know, when the customer had a problem with a tractor that they bought from me, sometimes I would go out to their place and try to fix it on site myself personally. Why? Because if I would have bought that tractor, I wanted that to happen. Whether they caused the problem or whether Mahindra was at fault or the customer's fault, it didn't matter. Take care of your customers. Treat them like you want to be treated. That is huge. And I think a lot of people miss that, you know, because you build that relationship with your customers or with your employees, or if you're an employee, you build that relationship with your employer and you're going to move up the ladder. I mean, it's so important to treat other people like you want to be treated. And these are the 8 things that seem to, you know, tie all of the successful people that I met together. These are the things I have in common. So I would recommend you looking at this list and working on these things. And I think it will help you going forward. And so I ask you to maybe share this video with other people, and you can go on to our channel and like and follow it, because there's going to be more videos we're going to be putting out. If you have questions, you can post those onto our comment section, or you can email me directly and I'll answer them. chucksandersmm@gmail.com. And follow, like I said, you know, look for our new videos that are going to be coming out every week or whenever I have a new idea. So thanks and God bless.